Hi everyone, my name is Zixuan from Nanjing University. The title of our work is ResNet-like CNN Architecture and Saliency Map for Human Activity Recognition. This work is accomplished by collaborating with Professor Rabih Younes from Duke University and Professor Jason Forsyth from James Madison University. I am the presenter for this video presentation. First, let us introduce the concept of HAR. Human activity recognition has recently been a research hotspot, attracting not only crowds of researchers but also plenty of funds. HAR methodologies have gotten very competent at recognizing human activity directly from raw sensor signals, which has wide applications, including home behavior analysis, ubiquitous computing, health monitoring, etc. There are mainly two types of HAR, video-based and sensor-based. Video-based HAR analyzes videos of human performing activities in front of a camera. It conforms to our intuition for recognizing human activities, but suffers from many problems, like the complexity to process high-dimensional data, the reliance on environmental illumination, and the need for fixing the position of camera. At the same time, sensor-based HAR can process data from various sensors, such as accelerator, gyroscope, magnetometer, Bluetooth, and others. Although it requires users to wear some kind of special equipment, the simplicity of one-dimensional time series data and the privacy concerns it addresses make it popular. There are also works on using mobile phones or smart watches as sensors, which makes it even more convenient. Therefore, in this paper, we will focus on sensor-based HAR. In general, HAR can be treated as a typical pattern recognition problem, where machine learning is very effective. Conventional HAR methods adopt machine learning algorithms as classifiers. However, a main problem is the heavy reliance on handcrafted feature extraction, which is constrained to the knowledge of the practitioner. Furthermore, the learned features are always shallow and unable to generalize, which means there is no universal solution to each dataset. Due to these limitations, traditional HAR methods are restricted both in accuracy and generalization ability. Recent years have witnessed the rise and the rapid development of deep learning, which have achieved unparalleled performance in computer vision, natural language processing, and speech processing. As a representation learning method, it can automatically learn deep features which are most useful for classification without any handcrafted pre-processing. This advancement improves over traditional methods where the handcrafted features are required. One of the most prominent deep learning methods are convolutional neural networks. The models are attractive in their ability to exploit spatial information inside datasets and were first used to classify images. Extending this ability to HAR, these approaches can exploit the time correlation between adjacent points in one-dimensional time series data. However, while CNN structures in the computer vision field keep evolving, with better performance and efficiency, the main structure of CNN in HAR field has been stuck in VGG-like model. Therefore, it is necessary to explore the possibility of applying the advancement of structures from visual field to HAR tasks. And without architectural, another essential question is that where we should put the sensor to recognize the human activity better. That is because wearing too many sensors is both troublesome for users and unbeneficial for signal processing. It will be useful to find the best placement for sensors and restrict the number of them. However, after conducting a review of some previous works, we discover that they share a cumbersome kind of method to choose the best placement. That is to try different combinations of positions and compare their performance. It will need training same network many times. The workload will explode, especially when potential positions increase heavily. So we want to find that is there any direct approach to visualize the importance of each channel. To solve the first question, we designed our own ResNet-like architecture. Our architecture shares the same basic idea with ResNet, residual learning. The advantages of introducing shortcut connection can be understood in three perspectives. First, the complexity of learning is reduced, especially when the features generated by current layer is fine-tuning of last layers, which happens mostly in deeper networks. Second, it strengthens the gradient flow. One of the most serious difficulty to train very deep CNNs is that gradient may vanish or explode during flowing from deep layers to shallow ones. However, because of the connection between deep layers and the shallow ones established by shortcuts, the gradient can be directly transferred without any loss, which avoids gradient vanishing or explosion and accelerates learning process. Third, it introduces multi-scale receptive field. Now the input to every residual block combines features from different layers outputs, which extract features of different complexity from different lengths of input signals. Based on the idea of residual learning discussed above, we construct a 1D CNN network shown in Figure 1a. The whole architecture stacks residual blocks with different number of kernels. The basic structure of residual block is shown in Figure 1b. It consists of two convolutional layers with batch norm and ReLU activation. And adds a shortcut connection from the input to the output of the second layer. The whole network starts with a first convolutional layer with 16 kernels. Then there are three stacked residual blocks with 16 kernels and a max pooling layer. Next, two stacked residual blocks with 32 kernels and another max pooling layer followed. After each pooling, we have 1+1 convolutional layer to transform channels numbers for the convenience of shortcut connection. Finally, we use global average pooling layer to unify the feature maps among all channels and a softmax layer to get the probability for each class. All the convolutional kernels are 1+3 in order to achieve more complicated model in small receptive field. The result of our ResNet-like structure and four baseline networks on opportunity dataset are shown in Table 1. We have chosen two most famous work and the two most recent method. Normalized F-measure is used to evaluate the performance. From the comparison, we can see that our ResNet-like structure performs better than all four baselines with a significant reduction in parameters and FLOPs. We attribute this significant reduction to several factors. First, we found that most of the previous works treated the data format as two-dimensional map and only did convolutionals on time axis, leaving channels unchanged. It means keeping 113 channels throughout the whole network, which is obviously a burden. Like in Yang 2015, the first layer does 1+5 unpadded convolution to the input signals, changing it from n plus 113 plus 30 into n plus 113 plus 26 plus 50. However, in our network, we treat channels of sensors and the channels of kernels the same, which is very different from the mentioned method. Our first layer transforms input data from n plus 15 plus 113 into n plus 15 plus 16, which can be seen as the rearrangement of different sensors signals. The different ways to treat two kinds of channels lead to the significant reduction of parameter numbers. Second, we got rid of the fully connected layers and used global average pooling instead. FCs is notorious about the explosion of parameters, and we find that a network without them for HAR, like in many other fields, can still achieve equivalent performance. Finally, the residual block makes learning easier so that we can use very few kernels compared with previous works while achieving same performance. We use 16 and 32 kernels here, which is significantly reduced from 128, 60, and 64 from each baseline. To solve the second problem, we use a method called Saliency Map to visualize the importance of each channel. It is widely used in the image classification field to visualize which part of the input image contributes most to the classification result. The core idea is to compute the gradient of classification unit to input signals, as this equation shows. In practice, the dimensionality of the saliency map for a single sample is t plus c. T denotes the length of time series and c is the number of channels. We adapt the matrix along vertical axis because time length cannot be treated separately. In the end, we obtain an array whose length is the same as the number of channels. It is worth noting that a single sample has randomness, so the saliency map generated will be affected by noise. Therefore, a stable saliency map should be the average of abundant saliency maps generated by samples of the same class. The values attached to each channel can be seen as the representation of importance. Therefore, we can consider channels with top values as the most important sensors. As discussed above, the saliency map for each activity class in opportunity appears to be a curve with 113 points after processing. Each point is corresponding to one channel of a sensor, and the value is considered to be the importance of this channel to the final result. During experiments, we computed saliency map for every activity class and showed it in Figure 4. First of all, let's take a look from big picture. Each map has clear peaks and valleys, which means we can easily extract channels with high or low importance. Another interesting fact is that similar activities have similar patterns. Particularly obvious are the map for open dishwasher and the closed dishwasher. It makes sense because in similar activities such as opening or closing something, high importance should be given to same sensors, which is exactly what we have observed. Then we take a step closer to analyze the information given by every single map. Because of the limited time, we cannot give each map a detailed explanation. Therefore, we mainly made detailed explanation for activity 1, open door 1. And other door maps can be further explored in the same way. To check if the values of each point has any realistic meaning, we cut out the top 10 channels with most importance and bottom 10 with least. The index numbers and the corresponding sensors are shown in the table. From this table, we can see that top 10 sensors mainly consist of sensors on right hand and on the back, especially magnetic. It is reasonable since the key to opening the door is the movement of the right hand and the rotation of the waist. It doesn't matter what the left hand is doing or the state of the lower body. At the same time, there are some sensors about the left hand in bottom 10 sensors, which means signals related to left hands have little effect on classification, which is the same result as above. Besides, nearly all angle bevel navigation frame sensors are on bottom 10, which means this kind of sensor is all useless for classification. This kind of sensor, according to description in opportunity, represents orientation of the sensor with respect to the world coordinate system in coordinates. It is a useless feature beyond any doubt, because nobody cares which direction I am heading when I open the door. In order to further verify our theory, we average maps for each activity to generate the final saliency map for this whole dataset. Then we extract top 20 channels with highest values and bottom 20 channels as well. We have trained 3 different networks separately with over 113 channels, top 20 channels, and bottom 20 channels. According to the results, the performance of the whole model just drops by 3% when we choose top 20 channels as inputs instead of the whole 113, while the parameters are reduced by 20%. It means that we must have discarded most useless channels and only the channels with strong ability to classify between different classes remain, significantly improving the efficiency of learning used for features. At the same time, we observe that network trained with 20 top and 20 bottom have same network structure and the same number of parameters, but end up with totally different performance. It provides the evidence of the assumption that channels with larger values on saliency map have stronger classification ability again. In conclusion, the values of saliency map can indeed reflect the importance of the corresponding sensor. Depending on the result of saliency map towards whole dataset, we can get direct feedback about which channels are most important. Therefore, dimensional reduction can be done by reserving channels with highest values and dropping the others. The optimal positions or sensors could also be found by directly comparing the values inside the saliency map. Okay, so let's do the conclusion part and the future work part. In summary, the contributions of our work are as follows. The first, we put forward a novel ResNet-like CNN structure for HAR tasks with improved performance. Second, the network we designed has significantly fewer parameters, which is capable for more efficient computing. And third, we use saliency map to directly visualize the importance of every input channel. Our future work plan is, first, we will conduct more experiments on more different datasets to validate the stability. Second, we will keep exploring the application for more advanced CNN network architecture on HAR tasks like DenseNet, MobileNet, and others. And the last is that a more complicated system can be designed to automatically realize the dimensional reduction work, like reserving the top 20 channels. It will be used for like in the real world, like real-time computing or something else. That's all of my representation. Thank you for all.